Okay, let's get started with the lecture today. I'm going to divide the lecture into two parts. In the first hour, I'm going to discuss what is statistics. So we are going to define what is statistics. We'll be looking at the different types of data that we are dealing in statistics. We'll also look at the two major areas of statistics. Statistics is a body of principles and methods that we use to extract useful information from a data set to assist people in making decisions. So if there's one simple way for us to define statistics, statistics is about analyzing data. Okay. Data analysis. Let me highlight some of the keywords here. You have your data set, but what we are trying to do, we try to extract useful information from that data set so that we can use the information in helping us in making decisions. So statistics is the process that we do to convert data into information so that the information can be useful for decision making. Data are actual observations that you get from your investigation, your experiment, or your survey. In marketing, for example, guys, you do a lot of survey. What you do there, you are trying to obtain data. What are the different types of data? We have quantitative data, we have qualitative data. Quantitative data are numerical observations. Qualitative data are categorical observations. So if your data is in the form of numbers, that is quantitative. If your data is in different categorical observations, so in terms of words, that is qualitative data. To make things clear, so let's look at these examples. Annual income. So let me highlight income of families in Brisbane. So if I ask you how much income do you earn annually, the answers that I'll be getting would be 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, and so on. So what are we collecting here? Quantitative data, because the data is in terms of numbers. Voting preferences. For example, at this point of time, in the US, we are going to have the election coming. So the people in US, they'll be voting for maybe Obama, Mitt Romney, Obama, and so on. Okay. So the data that we are getting there is in terms of different categorical observation. So voting preferences must be qualitative data. Let me give you another example. I could be asking you, what major of study are you going to do when you go to Griffith University? The answers that I'll be getting from you, accounting, another student wants to do accounting also, accounting, marketing, management, banking, finance, and so on. So that must be qualitative data. Okay, now we are going to look at data in terms of whether it's population or sample. Population is the entire set of the observations. A sample is a portion of the population. Okay? Let's look at the example here. The 1997 annual income. So we know we are talking about income there. It must be quantitative. But what is important here is every Australians. So we are getting the data from all Australians. So that must be population data. Okay. 1997 annual income of 100 randomly selected Australians. So are we talking about population or sample, guys? We are talking about sample. Okay, this is important. Population parameter. Sample stats. A parameter is a characteristic of a population. On the other hand, statistic is a characteristic of a sample. I know previously we defined what is statistics, okay? But here I'm using statistics as a concept that defines samples. So once again, any information that you get from population, we call that a parameter, okay? But information that you obtain from sample, we call that sample statistics, okay? So first thing first, can you copy this information? So we have what we call population parameter. And sample statistics. Okay. Population size, the notation that we use is capital N. Sample size, the notation that we use is small n. So here I'm trying to give you the different notations that we use either for population or sample. So suppose at QIBT this semester we have 1,500 QIBT students in total. So I can say to you the big N or the capital N is 1,500. Okay? Suppose I'm trying to get sample data from a sample size of 25 students only. Okay? So the sample size or the small n is 25. Is that clear? Next, average. The notation that we use for population average is, that's not a U, guys. How do we read that? Mu. Mu. Okay. And the one that we use for sample is X with a bar. X bar. Okay. We'll discuss more about mu and X bar next week. At this point of time, I'm just trying to give you the different notations. Variance, sigma squared. Okay, how do we read that? Sigma squared. Okay, the one for sample is S squared. We also have what we call standard deviation. Population standard deviation is just sigma. Sample standard deviation, just S. One more. Proportion. Proportion. P and P with a hat. P hat. P hat. Okay? So there you go, guys. If I was you, I would definitely try to memorize all these different notations. Life is going to be so much easier if you do understand what is what. If you do know what is what, okay? I'll discuss more about this next week when we do our lecture week 2. We are going to be doing a lot of computations, how to get mu, how to get x bar, how to get sigma, s, and so on, okay? With quantitative data, we will try to get the average, the variance, and the standard deviation. With qualitative data, the subject of interest is the proportion. With qualitative data, the subject of interest is the proportion. Okay? So let's go back to our examples here. So can you help me out here? Average annual income of all Australians. So what are we talking about here? We are talking about mu. Okay. The proportion of defective shoes out of all the shoes, let me make it clear for you, the proportion of defective shoes out of all the shoes manufactured in a shoe factory. That's a P. Alright? Average annual income of 100 randomly selected Australians. Not all, but 100 randomly selected Australians. So what are we talking about here? Mu or x bar? We are talking about x bar. Okay? The proportion of defective shoes in 200 randomly selected shoes manufactured in the factory, P with a hat. P hat. Okay.